BYD, the company that just passed Tesla to become the world's biggest EV maker, has confirmed its first humanoid robot will debut next month. And the strategy behind it is almost the opposite of what you'd expect. BYD told China's financial press this week that it plans to unveil the robot in August at one of its D-Space experience centers. A teaser posted by BYD's Zhengzhou venue back on July 25th simply read, "In early August, a new friend wants to meet you. No specs, no name, no design shown yet, but this isn't a random side project. BYD has reportedly been working on this for close to 4 years under an internal codename referencing 3 legendary emperors from Chinese history. And once you see how they're planning to use it, it starts to make a lot of sense why a car company would spend that long building a robot." Let's back up for a second because BYD is not the first automaker to make this move, and it's not even close. Tesla has Optimus. Hyundai is deploying Boston Dynamics Atlas. Samsung just created a CEO-level robotics division. In China alone, XPeng is planning mass production of its Iron Humanoid by the end of this year and has reportedly committed up to $13.8 billion toward robotics. Chery's brand Imoga is already selling a consumer humanoid at around $42,000. SAIC-GM already has wheeled humanoids working assembly lines. So why does an entire industry of car companies suddenly think they should also be robot companies? BYD's executive vice president, Stella Li, actually laid this out pretty directly in interviews earlier this year. Her argument is that humanoid robots and electric vehicles share almost the same core components: batteries, electric motors, precision actuators, sensors. If you already mass-produce millions of cars, you already have the supply chain, the manufacturing scale, and the cost discipline that a pure robotics startup has to build from zero. Here's where BYD's plan gets more interesting than most of the competition. Li said BYD intends to become its own biggest customer for these robots, at least at first. The idea is to deploy the robots inside BYD's own factories, some of the densest EV and battery production lines in the world, on dangerous or repetitive tasks. Use that real-world deployment to gather data and refine the technology, drive unit costs down through volume, and only then expand outward into commercial and eventually home use. There's also reportedly a much bigger production target attached to this. A new industrial park in Xi'an is said to be targeting an eventual output of 50,000 robots a year, a number that, if it holds up, would put BYD in mass manufacturer territory for robots, not just internal use pilot programs. And notably, BYD has said it wants to build this as an open platform, meaning it wouldn't just produce robots for itself, but potentially manufacture for other companies too, similar to how it already supplies EV components across the industry. Now, the near-term plan is actually more modest than robots replacing factory workers, and it's arguably the more interesting part of the story. Li has said her goal is to place 2 or 3 robots in every BYD store, using them as sales assistants who can explain products and demonstrate vehicles to customers. She's floated this specifically as a way to reduce hiring pressure in overseas markets like Europe. But she's also been careful to say that robots aren't meant to fully replace the human side of a sales interaction. Her own words were that robots can't replace the emotional connection between a salesperson and a customer. If that retail rollout happens as described, it could end up being one of the largest real-world tests yet of how humanoid robots perform in a public-facing role, rather than behind a factory wall where most current deployments are happening. There's a competitive angle here too that's worth pointing out. Li has said she believes China will be the first market to see full commercialization of humanoid robots, not the US. That's a notable claim given Tesla is still the most recognizable name in the space globally, but Optimus's public sales timeline has reportedly slipped to the end of 2027, partly because Tesla has to build out its component supply chain largely from scratch. BYD and Chinese automakers more broadly don't have that problem in the same way. China already has a dense, mature EV supply chain that these companies are simply redirecting toward robotics. Whether that translates into China actually reaching commercial scale first is still an open question, but it's the bet several of the country's biggest manufacturers are now making at the same time. So here's where that leaves things heading into August. BYD hasn't shown the robot yet, hasn't named it, and hasn't released specs. What we do know is the strategic thinking behind it. Use internal factory deployment to prove it out, aim for enormous manufacturing scale, and put it in front of actual customers in showrooms faster than most competitors are even attempting. Whether the actual reveal lives up to 4 years of quiet development is going to be worth watching closely. We'll cover it the moment BYD shows what this thing actually looks like. Let me know in the comments what you think a car company's first robot should actually be able to do, and I'll see you in the next one.